shook us up. You're always welcome to jump in.
All right, let me just put the careful. All right, I'll just go with this one. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Smitty Sports Machine, man. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, CG? What's the deal, man?
What's the deal, man? It must be a great outcome for your Falcons for taking the punch in the mouth, man. You guys took a playbook off of us this week, man.
Yeah, I said that in my preview, man. I said we had a chance of beating the 49ers. We had to hit them in the mouth because with a beast, that's what you have to do, man. You have to hit them in the mouth. Number one rated defense. And to me, it's still the best defense. You know, they had a lot of injuries that played a role, kind of a role, but I think the Falcons just came to play yesterday, man.
Yeah, no excuses. Atlanta just was ready. They came well prepared. They came with their sleeves on, and they were just ready to ball out, man. That's just what happens, man.
Right.
Yeah,
but,
man.
But I got a question for you right quick.
Okay.
With the way the 49ers played on offense, man, do you feel like they had a good game plan offensively going into the game, or did they get away from the run too early?
They got away to the run too early, man. I don't think they had much of a game plan. They just thought, hey, we'll rest Bosa. I think we'll be good. And I think they were slacking off on that game. And I think Atlanta just made us pay the price.
I can roll with that.
Yeah, I think Atlanta, for whatever reason, man, you guys should have beat Tampa Bay for that controversial call, man. But I think Atlanta is like one of those teams that could be a wild card team or maybe win a division because I don't see no clear winner for the NFC South if Atlanta keeps on stacking those wins or keep playing those close games. Because when I've watched the way how Atlanta's been playing, they've been in a lot of close games, even by winning or by losing. It's kind of been 6 points or less if they've lost. But when they played those kind of games, they went by 2 touchdowns on a couple of teams. So I'll give credit where it's due right there. You guys are coming out to play, man.
Yeah, we come out to play every game, man. We've only lost with 3 losses. We only lost by a total of 11 points. I can deal with that any day. And like you said, and now with 3 wins, we just played lights out. Yesterday, I just think it was just a complete game from beginning to end. And I knew it was coming because it was time. And like you said with the Tampa Bay game, man, I think if we get that sack at the end of the game, get that punt, you know, we drive down the field with momentum, we'll probably win that game, and we're probably 4-2 right now. But I think that game was a kick in the butt for the coaches and the players for them to get up, you know, do their thing. And I think that kicking the butt against Tampa Bay was motivation that drove us into yesterday's game.
That's what happens when you get that one loss and it's controversial and you got screwed over. You come into this game with something to prove, and then the fact that you're going to have to deal with other fans taking over your stadium, that's going to bring a lot of fuel. So it's like, and as I don't know, like what's going on with majority of your fan base? Like, I guess there's half of the fan base not really liking Mariota, and then there's a side that actually kind of want to give it a chance here and there.
I just think with the fan base and the way they are going from back and forth with quarterbacks, I just think they're anxious to see what Desmond really can do. But at the same time, man, you got to be patient with Mariota, who sat for 2 years in Las Vegas. And he said it yesterday. He thought about his job getting taken 3 years ago in Tennessee by Ryan Tannehill. And he was thinking about that yesterday going to yesterday's game. And I think that motivated him a little bit because I said his confidence was shot probably the first 5 games. He needed to find a way to pick it up mentally, and I think he did that. He did not throw for a lot of yards, but he almost had a perfect passer rating, and he ran for a touchdown. So 3 total touchdowns on 179 yards does not sound like much, but it's perfect when you have the run game going and that is something that you can catapult on going forward.
That's the way how you win games is just having a good running game. And Mariota didn't have too much pressure. So he kind of had more of a Jimmy G type performance where he didn't have to do too much. But when he needed to run, he had to pull a little bit of a Lamar Jackson in him just to get that touchdown, man. That's what he needed.
Yep.
But as far as your defense, I mean, there was some spots there that were kind of like stepping up in that play, man. Like the offense just wasn't stepping up to the plate, and you guys came out playing and you gave us some hard times, man. I mean, I guess despite how Jimmy played, he got those 2 interceptions. You guys were making plays. You guys were getting all over him all day. That offensive line was a complete mess. But the fact that this Atlanta team is hungry, that's a dangerous team that you don't want to play against.
Agreed. And one thing that I did like after they had the injuries to both of their top cornerbacks, I think Darren Hall came in, played well. D. Alford came in, played well. Even Isaiah Oliver got an interception coming off an ACL tear over a year ago, so it was his first game back. He did go out late in the game, but he did come back in. But that showed promise in itself. But they still need to add probably one more cornerback to add more depth to that position. Defensive line played very well, got pressure, like you said. You can't ask for more. You have rookie Troy Anderson starting his first game for Michael Walker. So it was just a lot of positive with the defense. Richie Grant and Jalen Hawkins were all over the field. So you have a bright future back there in that secondary. You might need to add a lot of pieces, a couple of pieces, and you have a complete team. But as I said in the beginning, I like the way they played from beginning to end and jumped out fast, and can't ask for nothing more than that, CG.
Yeah, that's just a young team. You guys are building a foundation. I mean, I know that Mariota's the bridge quarterback, and I know you guys had to cut the Band-Aid loose on Matt Ryan, and it was just best to move forward, but sometimes it's for the better. I mean, hey, maybe it was nothing wrong with the flirting with Deshaun Watson, but I guess it had to be cut off at some point.
Yeah, it had to. To be honest, everything worked out for the best. Now, I would love to see what Deshaun Watson can do with this offensive scheme that we have and the playmaker that we have. But at the same time, man, you don't want those PR nightmares that he brings. And Mariota stepped in, did what he needed to do, and he's doing well. He's going to have up and down games, but that's any quarterback in the NFL. So Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith moved on, found Mariota. So I think it was the right move as far as we're seeing right now.
Yeah, it can either just be just a couple more years here and there, and then you guys are going to stack up a team. But if you guys come in as a wild card or win your division, then the future is a lot brighter than it is. But it's like you guys had nothing to lose. Like during this offseason, you guys just went with a foundation. You guys built through the draft, and you guys are just playing your hardest. So that's all you could ask for a football team. With those expectations, there weren't much expectations from Atlanta. Like most of the Atlanta fans that I've talked to, they were just thinking, man, we're just a rebuilding team. I don't know. Like they just had those little doubts, but now maybe there's a little glimpse of hope that maybe you guys are maybe a playoff team.
Yeah, like I said, 2-15, man. That's what a lot of people had us at, and we won 3 games already. But what they did not think about was last year, how well they played last year at 7-10, playing with the other regime's players. This year they get to break the team down, put their type players on the field, and put their scheme on the field full blast. And I think it's worked out for the best through free agency and through the draft, like you said. And we got a couple of steals in the draft. One, I think Drake London, nobody talked about him. They were into Chris Olave and those guys. Second round, you talk about Troy Anderson, who I said got his second start yesterday. Another guy, D'Angelo Malone, he's another guy. So, I mean, we got a lot of sneaky good picks in the draft this year. And I think they will continue that next year because of what is, coming out on defense. And I think they build on defense more than anything with this team because I think that's going to be Arthur Smith's blueprint. Run the football, control the clock, play solid defense. That's a recipe for a win.
And it still works in today's NFL as long as you keep that formula going. Just look at how the Tennessee Titans, the Niners do it in general. I mean, it's always been that smash mouth. We run the ball first, builds up the play action here and there, and
Right.
it should be a simple recipe for success. As long as you have a great defense to bail you out at times, then you'll be fine. But looking at the remaining schedules from the Atlanta Falcons, how do you feel about these upcoming games, man?
I said we have a chance, and I'm gonna just be real. We have a chance to run off 5 straight. And the reason why I say that, you play the division rival twice, and that's really, the only scare that you have. I think Cincinnati this Sunday, I think that's a winnable game, even though they're playing better. We have the Chargers, who haven't played, their best. Carolina twice, Chicago. So when you look at those games coming ahead, like the next 5 or 6 games, I think the Falcons have a chance to run win all games or lose probably one. But I think this could catapult the Atlanta Falcons a little bit more into the playoff race and give them a little bit more confidence against the back end of their schedule where they still have Tampa Bay and New Orleans.
Yeah, it gets favorable for them if they like the way that Atlanta's playing. It's been closer, so there's no doubt about it. Like as long as you guys keep that formula going, as long as you guys keep building that commodity, man, I don't know who can beat Atlanta. I think Atlanta is going to have to be one of those teams that teams have to start taking serious because early in the season, everybody was taking them lightly and say, they were building. Like just like last year with the Bengals, everybody wasn't taking them serious. So
right.
it's one of those teams, man. Like it's just, do you guys feel like you guys don't get enough respect?
It's always been like that, man. I've been an Atlanta Falcons fan for 32 years. And I'm sorry, 33 years. And I mean, it's always been like that from the time I was 10 years old up to right now. So the only way for us to get respect, start winning games, show that we belong with the elite teams. And I think they're building towards that. No, they're not elite right now, but they have some elite players. And those elite players will help build this team the right way. So we'll see. But we don't get the respect we deserve, but it's coming.
Yeah, it's like I don't hear much of their names. It's like nobody gives them the proper respect they deserve. And the one formula that the Falcons need to do mostly throughout the season is try to give the ball to Kyle Pitts just a little bit more, man. Not because of fantasy football perspective, but you need to get that guy involved a little more. I've heard a lot from the Falcons vidmakers that why are we not fitting the ball to Kyle Pitts? Give him the ball.
That's mainly because, like I said, it's with Marcus Mariota's confidence. That's what I felt like the problem was all along. They ran the ball pretty well, so there's no reason not to throw him the football, running play action or no huddle, or lining him up anywhere on the field. And I think that's probably what they need to do more of is lining more wide slot, line him up in the backfield. Any way you can get him the football, find a way to do it. We know they run a lot of 2-3 tight end sets. If you run a double tight end set, you move him outside of the receiver, him and Drake London. It'll be hard, to cover both of those guys at the same time. They're going to work off of each other one way or another. And when CP and when Cordero Patterson comes back, with the way they're running the ball with the 2 young running backs, you can use him as a receiver as well. That's another weapon that you have. So going forward, they really don't have an excuse not to get Kyle Pitts the football anymore, especially after that touchdown reception yesterday.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, since Cordero Patterson, what's the update on him? Is he supposed to come back within next week?
He has 2 weeks left. 2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks. Okay. Because he's kind of been a very effective player. Like, even like you said, as a receiver, he's dangerous. But as a runner, you guys have been using him in a lot of different ways that in his previous years, he was mostly used as a gadget player. So it's like
right.
Atlanta's starting to use him more like an all-around player, like the way he's supposed to be. Like, I know he was exactly what Debo was is, but just way before his time, man. This guy would have been something like, but he's still effective for your guys' offense. You guys are running it. You guys are featuring him a lot of different ways. And that's what you call a weapon on this offense, man.
Agreed. And what I like about him is he shows that by him being a kick and punt return all those years, put him in the backfield. He finds a hole. He hits it hard as he can. And that's what makes him successful as a running back. 141 yards against Seattle, goes down with a knee injury. Only has 38 yards the next game, but then goes on IR. So when he comes back, I think he's going to be healthy, ready to go. And with the way those, like I said, the way those other two guys are running, it's going to be running back by committee. And I think that's the best thing for him long term.
Yeah, running back by committee so you can keep him fresh and keep the other ones fresh. I don't understand why Shanahan's not even doing this no more. Like, he used to do running back by committee. Now he's just giving the ball to this certain individual. Now that you're seeing more of Jeff Wilson getting more touches, and now it could lead down to him getting injured and a lot of stuff. And it's like Elijah Mitchell was getting a lot of carries last year as a rookie, and then he missed significant time because he was getting the ball like up to 20-plus times a game. And usually for a guy like his size, he can take so much hits. But Shanahan just forgets the formula, and I think that's exactly what the Falcons are doing that's really successful is the running back by committee because like those young running backs you got, Tyler Algier, whatever his name is. He's very physical back, kind of gives you those tough yards, which I like about him. And then your other running back is a fast type of running back, can get you those yards. And that's what makes teams really good is if they just go by committee at running back, it keeps the players very fresh on the field.
There aren't any more 3-down backs in the NFL. You can say Derrick Henry is a 3-down back, but in the next 2 or 3 years, how much will he have left? Because the last, I said, 3 to 4 years, he had 300 or more carries every year. So we'll see how much longer he sustains success. But I think those days are long gone. And like you said, Shanahan, he done that in Atlanta. He had running back by committee with Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman, who's now on the 49ers. So if he, gets away from that, I think you guys are going to have problems down the road. That's where inconsistency comes in. Because if you get the running game going, running back by committee, you saw it yesterday with Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel. After y'all ran the ball and used play action, those guys are wide open. So you got to, keep running the ball and keep using the same formula that you use to get to where you are. If not, it's going to be problems, I think.
That's just what happened. We abandoned the running game, and Atlanta just came out with their offense running the ball, and they kept stucking with it. What really stands out about the Falcons is even if they're behind by a touchdown or two, they still were committed to running the ball.
Right. And I think we're going to stick to that for the rest of the season. Like I said, you saw it in Tennessee with Derrick Henry, and that's why they made it to the AFC Championship a couple of seasons ago. Hopefully we use that same recipe and we end up there maybe next year, hopefully this year, but maybe next year for sure. We get more cap space and can bring in, even more talent that we have already. So we'll just see where we go as far as roster-wise.
Roster-wise, it's a young team for Atlanta. So if you guys get into that playoff form, it's going to definitely get more players to want to come in Atlanta. Like, who wants to come with another team that's contending or maybe being a playoff team? But if Atlanta keeps building the right way, there's going to be some players who just want to take the bag or just want to go to Atlanta and play for that type of culture out there.
And I wouldn't be surprised, and I'll be honest with you, I would not be surprised if Derrick Henry ended his career here if Arthur Smith is still head coach.
It's possible. It depends, like you said. Like Derrick Henry, how many more carries can this guy take at some point? Sometimes these running backs could finish their end of their careers with a certain team, and then people be like saying, well, he still wanted to play. So that's what happens.
Yeah, we saw it a couple of times with Atlanta. Saw it with Steven Jackson, and we saw it way back in the day with Eric Dickerson. Neither one of those guys had any gas left in the tank. So we'll see if Derrick Henry comes here, if he have gas left in the tank. If not, hey, we already have someone here to back him up.
Yeah, the young guys you guys got, like Caleb Huntley is a very speed back. Tyler Algier is more of a physical, gives you those tough yards, and sometimes you don't get those kind of backs that can take a lot of the hits like that, especially for a guy his size. He's physical, and makes up for that type of speed.
Agreed. And when you have those two tight physical backs, like I said, it wears down the defense. And I say, halfway through the third quarter, going into the fourth, 49ers seemed a little bit gassed. You saw that long drive in the fourth quarter where 49ers did not come up with any points. I think you can't do that going forward. You drive the ball 90-something yards and still doesn't score any points. That's a red flag for Kyle Shanahan.
That sure is. I mean, if you're going to go down the field and kill much clock, at least get some points on the board. But the problem with him was he abandoned the running game and he kept throwing the ball. And that's why Jimmy G's stats went up as usual, because you include the 2 interceptions, the 2 touchdowns. That's like the recipe of Kirk Cousins type plays. That's just a winning game.
And I got another question. Do you think Kyle Shanahan needs to get with the times and start, to try to go after a mobile quarterback instead of always using the pocket passer to try to open up his offense a little bit more?
I believe he's been doing that. It's just Trey Lance is injured, but we'll find out as soon as next year if he gets to give this kid a proper chance to play the way he's supposed to play. He's using him. Like in the first 2 games, he was mostly used as a runner, but they try to use him in certain ways. And I think that's what Shanahan's planning to do in the future, is to get a mobile quarterback.
I could roll with that. Because Trey Lance, his rookie season, he came in here and there, but it just didn't seem the same when he became the full-time starter. So I hope he, expands the playbook a little bit more. Help that kid grow into a pocket passer, not just a runner. But it's just something to watch out for.
Yeah, if Shanahan can just get a mobile quarterback, that can open up the playbook more. That's what's been positive about having Trey Lance, was he was quick on learning this offense, and the way he was able to move outside the pocket, it opens up more of the playbook. But now that you go from Jimmy, it just takes away with much of the playbook that you need. I mean, we had this kid named Danny Gray that can run those deep passes, and it takes now that's closed because Jimmy doesn't take much of those deep shots. So now we're just on to square one and just go with those short yak plays. It works in some extent, but at some point you're going to have to try to go for those deep shots.
And do you think George Kittle's injuries are catching up with him? He just didn't seem. He seemed like he lost a kind of a step yesterday, especially when he missed that open pass. It just seemed like he just didn't have confidence yesterday. It just seemed a little off. He's been injured the last 2 seasons, and somehow it just seemed like it's catching up with him.
A lot of the hits, yeah. Like if you notice, he used to like break tackles and actually get those tough yards, but now when you see him get the ball, he may break a little tackle, but it's not effective like the way how he would get those big chunk plays. Like,
right.
Yeah, a lot of those injuries start to take a toll for a guy, and he's almost 30 years old. So it's kind of like at the point of his career, he's just not the same guy. Like realistically, that's why we're using him more as a blocker. And then whenever he gets his chances to catch the ball, that's when we use him. But yeah, he's kind of lost a step. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, so to see Brandon Ayuk get those catches yesterday, that had to be a relief for 49ers fans, because that guy kind of scared me the way he was catching the ball on those crossing passes. He's one of those guys, he can just get a 5-yard slant and take it to the house. He just had that type of ability. Just to see him get those 2 touchdown catches, it had to be a relief for y'all guys, man.
I mean, Ayuk, if we can get him the targets, man, this guy is unbelievable. Runs the routes pretty good. I mean, he's a yak guy, but like you said, those plays, dude, that's what we've been trying to use in that offense. But we've been using Debo too damn much. Like Debo, everybody knows that it's going to go to Debo, so got to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, that was definitely a plus to see both of those guys getting receptions. And like I said, take some of the pressure off Kittle now. Maybe later on in the season, going toward playoff time, during the playoff race, maybe he picks it up a little bit and gets a little bit more confidence. But it's also great to see, like I said, who can Debo get those receptions. And I just want to see what Tevin Coleman does in San Francisco. I know Jeff Wilson is the guy, like you say, Elijah Mitchell, who's been injured a lot. But the 49ers is still going to be exciting to watch, man, going forward.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it depends on the running back. As soon as Elijah Mitchell returns, I think they're going to give him the job back. So it's like maybe not if Jeff Wilson keeps on having that. Except for that last game, he didn't look too good. So maybe there's going to be a little bit of the committee, maybe because we're supposed to get Ty Davis Price. He's probably going to play against the Chiefs this week. So he was one of the running backs that missed significant time with a think a sprained ankle or something, but we ruled him out for a couple of games. But he's a physical back, got the speed. We got a lot of running back problems, dude. It's like all these injuries, it doesn't matter who we get at running back. We can get one off the streets. We can just get one off the practice squad, and they just plug in right to the system. It takes them a week to catch on, and they're just going to ball out.
Would Christian McCaffrey be a good fit in San Francisco, you think?
Like, if it's not with the financial reasons, if we didn't have to give up compensation, he would definitely be a scary fit, dude. Like, catching the ball off the backfield, running the ball, bro. This guy's a complete weapon. Like, just him going to the Niners, that should be a crime. Because Shanahan can use him, bro. Like, use him in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, he can play slot. He can play anywhere on the field. So, the only thing would probably be his injuries. One more thing. DeMeco Ryan is the defensive coordinator. I said this yesterday on my show. I think he would be the perfect candidate to go to the Washington Commanders. And the reason why I say that is he's a great defensive mind, had a great NFL career. Reminds me a little bit of Sam Mills when it comes to playing football and coaching because he's in that same type stratosphere. If he goes to Washington with what they have, I think he could build that team the way they need to be built. Of course, we talking about Daniel Snyder, owner that should have been kicked out of the league years ago. But how big of a blow you think it would be if y'all lost DeMeco Ryans?
That would be tough, man. Because anytime you lose a coach like DeMeco, I mean, we went from Robert Saleh, which was a loss at the time, and it took DeMeco like at least a year to make this defense good. It takes time to gel as a play caller. So losing him, if it happens, which I think it will, like any other team who hires DeMeco, they're going to get a smart football-minded guy who's played the game and actually been there and done it, and people would play for this guy. So if it comes down to a team like Carolina, they're getting themselves a damn good coach, build that culture. But if he goes to Washington, he's gonna build a promising culture, but it depends on how that front office is, man. That Washington front office is no joke.
Yeah, Carolina is another good spot because they build their team around defense as well. So I think they're another team that could get a defensive-minded coach. We saw with Matt Rule that offensive-minded thing did not work. So what you do is get a defensive-minded head coach and get an offensive coordinator that can call plays. So if they can do that, I think Carolina has a chance to be a good team down the road as well.
Oh, yeah, it could be. Like, it just, you got to get the right hiring. And, like, the way how DeMeco is, I think he's ready by next year to be a head coach. Even last year, he would have taken any job, bro. But I think the Vikings offered him a spot, but he said he'll pass and just go one more year as a DC. So I think he wanted to build up his resume.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that at all. I definitely agree he should do that. And there's a lot of coaches and coordinators that should, think about going to the college level before they, go to the NFL level to coach. And I think a lot of coaches fail when they do that. Eric Bieniemy is one. Colorado offered him a head coaching job. I think he should have took it. Build his resume like you said there and come back to the NFL and see what he can get. But he didn't do that, and now it's hard for him to get a job.
Yeah, it is. It depends on what kind of team is going to build an offense very similar to what Kansas City runs, because if that's the kind of offense they're going to want to run, then you need to take a hire from Eric Bieniemy, or this may sound like a wild card hire, but my boy Ken Dorsey, the ex-Niner, who's an OC for the Bills, that could be another guy that's out there in the candidate, man. That guy's fired up. He's got the energy. He kind of gives me a little bit of that Harbaugh vibe a little bit.
Yeah, I remember him when he was at Miami and with the 49ers. He was always a headstrong quarterback. He didn't get a lot of praise coming out of Miami, but He was the centerpiece of that team. They had a lot of stars on the 2001 team, but to me, he was the centerpiece because he ran it all. So
Yeah,
without Ken Dorsey, I don't think that team wins a national championship.
without a doubt. And it's sad that he had to go through a rebuilding team like the Niners and had to go through those struggles, man. Even as a backup, it's like it is what it is. But I guess they see him as more as a coach. And I think as soon as he builds that resume, I think he can be a really good head coach in this league. But I think Eric Bieniemy should get a head coaching job. I think as far as his play calling, it's more qualifying. And plus, if you're coaching under Andy Reid's coaching tree, you are well worthy to get a coaching job. Like, it's a joke. Like, why can he not get a head coaching job?
I think with Eric Bieniemy, like I said, I think it's more his resume than anything. And then Miles, around owners and GM, they talk. So they may have talked to the GM to get a recommendation for him, and he probably just didn't get the proper backup that he needed. So I think he should go to college, build a resume, come back to the NFL, see if he can get a job. And I think he has a better shot at getting a job if he can build up that coaching college resume. Because I'm telling you right now, if Kirby Smart wanted to go to the NFL, he could.
Yeah, usually it's not a bad idea to just go to college. I mean, if you can turn that team around and win the national championship, you get considerations even as a outside NFL person because they look at college coaches most of the time sometimes.
Right. Yeah, because a lot of coaching, Lincoln Riley, he's another guy who's at USC now from Oklahoma. See,
Yep.
a lot of coaching, they go from school to school a couple of times, see what the recruiters like. Build up their resume, see how many games they win, and that just tells the whole story. So there's a couple of coaches I think should go back to college to build a resume before they move to the NFL. But a lot of them, they just don't like to do it because they saw a lot of them, just be honest, they just think about the money. NFL money is just better.
I mean, you look at Pete Carroll, his resume was based by college, and he took a head coach job for the NFL for a short minute, and then he eventually became a coach in college and then became a head coach, and then the rest is history. Like, it's not always a bad thing. Jim Harbaugh goes back to the college route, but he always wanted to coach at Michigan. So,
and another thing is not always about what position you coach in the NFL to become a head coach. I think a lot of special team coordinators should start applying for jobs because, like you said, you just called John Harbaugh. He was a special team coordinator and a special team coach, ended up getting a head coaching job. It's all about your mindset. If you had a right mindset to become a coach, I think that's all you need. Right mindset, great approach, good game plan. If you have all that, I mean, you have the tools. You look at Steve Wilkes in Carolina. They just fired Matt Rule. If he finishes his season out strong, which I think he can, he may keep that job. Who knows?
Yeah, and he just traded one of the players that was not happy, so I guess he wanted to cut off the BS and just build it from scratch, I guess.
But, that's the type of coach you need, one that does not, take BS. Robbie Anderson had got the hot head because he wasn't getting the football, but he knows DJ Moore is the number one receiver, and your targets are going to get cut short when you're the number two guy. It's just that simple.
It sure is, and sometimes you need some coaches like that. But if Wilkes kind of proves enough to, like, even if he wins a couple of games, I think it's more convincing that maybe he can remove that tag and maybe get a head coaching job for the Panthers.
Yeah, but we'll see, man, because I think like I said, there's going to be a couple of jobs open next year. Carolina and Washington is one because I think Riviera, I think he's gone as well. So we'll see, man. But Robert Saleh, shout out to him, man. New York Jets, he has that team playing well. I haven't seen that team with a coach since Bill Parcells, and we talking about late 90s.
Late 90s. I mean, Robert Saleh just comes from Shanahan, but he was built from going from Pete Carroll's coaching tree. So he came up with a defensive mindset. So he like – the way the Niners build their defense is exactly the way we build with Saleh. Saleh comes from that coaching tree. He came as our DC, and it was tough to replace him, but I felt like D'Amico was the right guy for the job, and I think he'll make the adjustments. But going into the next up-and-coming games, man, it's going to be tough down the stretch. These next two games, it's going to really be a tough one. So Kansas City, that's going to be the one that I don't know, man. I'm shaking my head and hoping that maybe this is one of those crazy weeks that maybe we pull off these games and whatever. But realistically, man, if Bosa's playing, and if Ward's going to be out there, if we can get Trent Williams back on that O-line, man, I think it makes a little bit of a difference. And if Shanahan can just find that formula that he was in, running that ball and opening that play action, then maybe we can be in the shootout with Kansas City. But I just don't know, man. It kind of scratches my head a little bit. Like, can we get those guys, or I might just not even think that we will beat them, you know?
Yeah, that's true. And one thing with Kansas City, man, when y'all play Kansas City, definitely gonna have to run the ball to keep Mahomes off the field. If you don't keep Mahomes off the field, it's gonna be a long night.
And you got to match up on the shootout too, or else it's a long
right. Absolutely.
Yeah, man, for sure. But hey, man, like for the Falcons, man, it should be more favorable as long as you guys keep it close, which you guys have been doing. When it comes close to your guys' favor, this is pretty much anybody's ball game. They're always getting one of those Cinderella teams, and maybe this is the year that the Atlanta Falcons become a Cinderella team where people just keep sleeping, they keep pulling up these wins, and maybe they keep playing these close games after close games, and that's just what happens, man. Yeah, shout out to your boy Sports Live and the ATL. He still has
man.
Yeah, he still has a hate on Shanahan. I know he blames him. He's a good dude. I've always had him on the show from time to time, but very cool dude. But he gotta rub it, man. Hey, don't worry, Slitter. I got you for Friday, man. I'll give you something to enjoy. Just at the moment, I probably gotta wait for my check on Friday, but I'll get you that pie in the face just because you guys punch us in the mouth. Yeah, man. But as far as like your team, dude, it's got to be like the NFC South is wide open. I'm not even convinced with Tampa Bay.
With what they lost on the defensive line, what they lost in the trenches, they just put it like that. What they lost in the trenches, I think it was tough for them, and I think it's finally starting to show. They lost Sue, they lost Pierre Paul, who's in Baltimore. Two of the offensive linemen retired, and one is out for the year. So they're going through it. So it's showing. It's not a surprise.
It's not a surprise, yeah. Man, it's just this year's division is weird because now you have the NFC East as like the most competitive one of them all. Like you have three teams who can easily be playoff teams, and then the Packers and Niners in the NFC West and the NFC North. It's just not as competitive except for the Vikings.
Yeah, and the NFC North is the NFC East. Philadelphia and Dallas is not a surprise, but the New York Giants are.
They are.
They always had the talent, but they just never had the right head coach. I think the ball has brought that Buffalo mentality to that team, coaching up on the Sean McDermott, and it's rubbing off on him, and he's put it towards his game plan. Run the football, as we said, they're running the football.
Run that ball, and you'll have a better chance.
Using, Daniel Jones as a game manager like they're supposed to. He's making the throws. So if they probably get one more receiver before the trade deadline is up, I think that team can be dangerous in the playoffs if they get there.
For sure. Sure, but hey, I guess this Rams fans got much respect for the Falcons. Falcons don't give up. They tried to come back against us. I thought that game was over. They came back and cut fumble, block, punt. They were back in it. So that's
absolutely right. He's absolutely right. They won't quit.
That's one thing about Atlanta. Even without Matt Ryan, I see this team with more resilience, just like how Seattle is playing too. Like, the surprising team, everybody was disrespecting Seattle also. So Seattle's kind of been pushing it
around.
I don't know. It's a weird year, don't you think? You got the Jets kind of showing some promising now, and then you got the Falcons in the mix, maybe winning that NFC South, maybe. But then you got the Seattle Seahawks, who everybody's been kind of rolling over with,
Right, and it's all to the players. But like I said, buying into their head coach, Geno Smith. We all just thought he was just a draft bust, even though he was a second round pick. But he finally got in a system that fits what he likes to do. It kind of goes back to his West Virginia days, the same type offense. So now he has the weapons there with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Rashad Penny, who's a little bit overrated, Kenny Walker, who they drafted. So he has weapons around him, and they have an offensive line that can stay healthy and is actually doing their job now.
Yeah. Don't you really kind of think that maybe the Seahawks kind of sucker in the Broncos and gave him a lemon car instead of an actual?
Yeah, I said that. Yeah. Pete Carroll, he's been known this for a couple of years now. You can see it in Russell Wilson's play in Seattle the last 2 years. He's not been the same Russell Wilson. So it's finally showing he's not in that system anymore. And hey, he might be getting towed away from Denver, but it's going to be a steep cost.
Yeah, steep costs. The one thing that was questionable by the Broncos was they gave him an extension before the season. They should have just seen what they got with those remaining contracts, but paying him at this point, he felt comfortable. Like, I don't got to worry about this.
Yeah, that was a sucker move. I think they gave Drew Lock a raw deal anyway, but hey, he may have ended up on the wrong side of the stick as well because Geno Smith is not giving up that starting spot in Seattle. But Russell Wilson, I think he may be going through some things off the field, which may be leading to his play on the field. Same as Tom Brady. But we'll see. And hopefully he turns it around because Denver has a solid team around him.
It's just that coach is a little bit off on his play calling.
Oh, my God.
Time management, that makes it seem like Mike McCarthy 2.0.
I wouldn't even give him that.
Yeah. These Rams are giving me a hard time, but it's always mutual respect with all our division, man. But, yeah, and, I feel like this is going to be one of the most interesting seasons when it comes down to it. Like, a team that moves on from their starting quarterbacks, can Seattle and the Falcons actually make the playoffs over teams like the Colts and the Broncos? That's going to be.
I get a Colts. I still get a Colts a chance to make the playoffs. I think when Jonathan Taylor comes back, he'll be back at full strength. Teams will be a little bit wore down by then. So I think Jonathan Taylor, I think he gives that team a boost when he comes back.
Oh, wait. What kind of question is this? Who wins 10? I don't even know who's going to win 10 games. We'll just have to wait and see what happens in the season, dude. But hey, I guess a lot of people are just popping on in, dude. I feel like it depends on how the Falcons finish. If they keep on playing better and get better down the stretch, this can be the team that you don't want to sleep with. I think Seattle, I'm just not really sure just because I'm a division fan, but I like what I've seen from Seattle, but their defense is just not that great. Like, how you're going to hold up? Like, let's say Geno has a really good game and he's actually doing the best he can, but that Seattle defense has to get better down the stretch. I mean, I do like their cornerback that they drafted, that Tyreek Woolen kid. That kid gets the ball every time.
Oh, yeah. He's going to be a good one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, here's a good question. This is an interesting question. I don't even know why you would go there, but this is a good one for you, Smitty.
I stick with Mariota because I think Mariota fits Arthur Smith's scheme a little bit better than Jimmy G. Jimmy G, he can't run. He's not a fast guy. I think you have to have a mobile quarterback in Arthur Smith's system. So I would stick with Mariota. And even though we had Desmond Ridder in Atlanta, I'll stick with Mariota until, Arthur Smith make the decision, put him on the bench.
Yeah. Oh, here's another one. Okay, well, Falcons finish higher than the Niners in power rankings. If we keep on continuing on a terrible offense performance, and if we don't get our players healthy, maybe.
That's to be continued because, like you said, I don't know what the next 5 games gonna bring. If the Falcons lose only one game in the next 5 or 6, I think they finish in the top 10 at season's end.
Yeah. Kittle or Pitts? I mean, Pitts is really up and coming. He's a good tight end, but Kittle's been around the league for a while. Usually guys, but I think he just hasn't been the same player. So I guess it's a draw because neither of them are actually producing at the highest level right now, except Pitts is starting to get more of his targets now. So maybe Pitts at the moment, but if we can get back that old Kittle, that'd be great.
I think if Arthur Smith draws up players that use Pitts a little bit better, I would have to say Pitts definitely because he's younger, more athletic, and faster. So you can use him as a receiver or a tight end. So that's why I would say Pitts.
For sure, man. I mean, Pitts is just younger. He's got more upside, and he can definitely be exactly how you build your offense. I mean, he gives you more of a Darren Waller, but just that explosiveness, man.
Right.
Yeah. So before we end this show, let's just put in a couple more questions, and then maybe down the road we'll catch on to my show or your show, whatever works for you, man. But
okay,
for those people who don't know who you are, tell them where they can find your YouTube channel and tell them where they can find you through social media.
See a couple of these guys on here, man. They follow me already. But you can find me on YouTube at Smitty Sports Machine. Also, Smitty Sports Machine on Facebook, my fan page, and Twitter at FatBoySlim_21, which is my handle right next to my name, where you can find anything about me. But, I love to talk sports. I love to talk with other teams, other players. I have a couple NFL players on every now and then, mainly retired players. But, I love to talk sports and can talk sports all day. And while I'm thinking about it, I'd like to thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, no problem, man. I do kind of the same thing, except on the Niners perspective. I've actually interviewed some retired Niner players myself. It's fun to get all these players that used to play for your football team or any other NFL player. Is just a huge plus.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah, especially Jamie Winborn. I think he lives in Atlanta, but I had him on my show.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. He lives here.
He's been on my show 2 times. I had Julian Peterson. I've had I had the 4th-round draft pick of this year's Niners draft. That's actually the starter at guard, number 74, Spencer Burford. He was one of my guests. And then I just recently had Anthony Dixon on. So it's like pretty cool.
Yeah. And I get support from Tampa Bay Buccaneers, former players, Falcons, Dolphins. Richmond Webb was probably one of my favorite interviews. That guy is really down to earth.
Yeah, I'm kind of in works with the ex-Raider safety Stuart Swagger, so he's kind of been reaching back, but he's been too busy. So I might have him on the show during the Niners and Raiders week, so we'll see.
Cool.
Yeah, cool, man. But, hey, definitely appreciate you on the show. I know you probably got some stuff to do, but, hey, it was a blast, man. But anytime, if you need me to come on your show, just let me know. I'm more than down to collaborate, man. Just keep doing what you're doing, bro. I like what you say about your team in general. I just like fans keeping it real, man, not sugarcoating,
Yeah, I mean, when you sugarcoat and you try to, fake the funk, as they say, it's not a good look. Always be, forward with your fans and forward with, followers, because if you do that, they'll, respect you for who you are.
For sure. Hey, for this last question, Vermilia Sports Report wants to know what would you put on your Falcons Mount Rushmore. So let's say you have 4 players that you want to put on your list.
I would start with Claude Humphrey because I felt he was the Atlanta Falcons' first superstar. Deion Sanders, who was a superstar here, and 2 of the last regime's top players, Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. So that would be my 4.
Oh, that's good. That's a pretty good list for a guy like Matt Ryan, who had the most passing yards and touchdowns in Atlanta Falcons history. I mean, Clyde Humphrey was your foundation player, your first ever superstar. Deion Sanders was just a guy, just the one that people wanted to watch, was a playmaker. I mean, you can't go wrong with these players, but man, no Michael Vick. I was just gonna throw that name out there, but hey, it's always one of those good times to check out. Then you got Julio Jones, one of your most consistent receivers at the time.
Agreed. And shout out to Crazy Juice, man. Say wish we all good luck for the rest of the season, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure, man. And as always, for everybody else, thanks for tuning in. And me and Smitty is out, and we'll definitely catch you guys next time, man.
Peace.
Peace, man.